I don't know what those disciples were thinking as they walked up the staircase to the upper room, but I can't imagine that anything could have prepared them for what would go on through that meal. First of all, Jesus takes off his robe and kneels and washes their feet, their master, something so totally and utterly shocking in the culture of their day. And then he also says to them that he calls them friends, no longer servants or slaves, but friends. I don't know about you, but I don't very often stop to think about friendship and its value and what its key characteristics are. But surely it is a relationship of mutual respect. No one can force you to be their friend. It is a relationship where we are given the opportunity to know something of the heart and mind of our friends, knowing that they will know something of us as well. It is something of great value. But it's not always easy to abide in God's friendship, is it? And I suspect that's mainly because we realise that we are completely unworthy of God's friendship. Nothing we can do can make us worthy of it. And so much of what we do would we perceive damage any other form of friendship that we had with another human being. Thankfully, we're not alone. Those disciples also struggled to move from being servants to friends of the risen Christ. And in the Gospels, we have so many examples of that journey from one state to the other, and sometimes going back and forth between the two. Mary Magdalene, for instance, I suspect finally realizes who her friend is when Jesus calls his name in the dawn light of Easter Day. Thomas gets it when he touches the hands and the side of Jesus. Peter finally gets it when he makes that wonderful statement on that beach, having had his breakfast. And what of Judas, who we meet so clearly in tonight's passage? That name that by its very nature, by its very utterance to us now means betrayal. I can't imagine there's been a time since Jesus's when Judas was in the top 10 of children's names. But he is offered the same friendship as the rest of the disciples in that room. And yet he walks away from it. Perhaps he thinks that by betraying Jesus, he'll force Jesus' hand. He'll force him to then take up this religious conquest to overthrow the Roman authorities and reclaim their land. Or perhaps he just becomes unsatisfied with the direction of travel. All of this talk of peace and of value and of love. But John tells us that by the end of this passage, he walks out into the darkness. A darkness that will completely surround and overwhelm him in the hours ahead. So what about us and our friendship with God? As we walk, at least at a distance, through the events of the next 3 days, let us remember that God does this in a call of friendship to us, that we may know that we cannot be separated from his love or his friendship unless we choose so to be. let the events remind us of the friendship that he calls us into, that we have the opportunity to know God as a friend and to see the level of friendship played out on the cross, through the foot washing, in the giving of the Last Supper, communion, the Eucharist, the memorial, and then to see him in the Easter light, when death is banished forever. So let us this week invest in this incredible friendship and give thanks for what God calls us into. Amen.